Hello and welcome to another LEGO Star Wars set review. Today we're going to be taking a look at set number 75300, simply called Imperial TIE Fighter. Most of you will know that this isn't a brand new set. It came out in the last wave earlier this year. It came out in the same wave as other smaller scale versions of sets such as the X-Wing and similar to the Imperial Shuttle, which I recently reviewed. Believe it or not, this is actually the first TIE Fighter that I've ever actually had, and by that I mean the first strict TIE Fighter. I do have the Vader's TIE Advanced, but I've never had a normal bog standard TIE Fighter before, all the way from my first LEGO Star Wars set that I probably got in 1999 or maybe 2000. I never had one of the blue ones or any of the more recent ones, so this is going to be my first experience. I know that people have mixed opinions about it, mainly regarding its size and scaling, but I really like it and I'm really interested in getting to build it, so I will get on and do that now. I did build the set straight after filming that intro, but then life got in the way, so it's now 3 weeks later and I'm finally getting around to reviewing it. That's not a sign of a bad set though, that's just life getting on top of me. But anyway, here is the set and the 3 minifigures that it comes with. Let's take a look at them first. Here are the first 2 figures. On the left, we've got a TIE Fighter pilot. This is a fairly standard minifigure that we've had several times recently in very similar designs. And then on the right, we have got a protocol droid. This is NIL8, haha, very funny, using an interesting head mold, which again has been used before, but I think this is the first time I'm ever getting one. The TIE Fighter pilot has nice printing on the helmet and the torso and legs, also printing on the back. It's that same helmet we've seen for a while now, which unfortunately has that large gap at the back. It's probably time that that was updated. The droid on the right has some nice printing as well. I think the cable printing is perhaps a little bit bright compared to the rest of the design. Maybe could have been silver as well, but I suppose some variation is nice. There's obviously nothing underneath the head of this droid. This is just a moulded piece. Do you, however, get a face underneath there? That is not a clone face. They've stopped doing that, but this is sort of a generic face that's been used for loads of different minifigures. I think it might be a Lex Luthor or more recently a Lucius Malfoy. Anyway, nice figures. Obviously, the TIE Fighter pilot is very appropriate, and I'll show you how he fits inside later. And the droid is a nice addition that really didn't need to be added in. And then we come to it at long last. This is the first time that I've got one of the new helmeted Stormtroopers, those with the dual molded black and white, and I'm not sure if the grey is dual molded as well, or if that's printed. That would make it triple molded. But anyway, this is the first time I'm getting one of these, and the first time I can really give my verdict on them. I just don't know. If you look at it just from the front, it looks pretty good, especially from a bit of a distance. You start to turn it though, and oh, that front, that just makes no sense to me. I really don't get why it needed to be that bulky. I don't understand why they'd make it so you can't turn the head. The old one had its problems, but that one is even worse. The helmet itself, it's a shame really, because the helmet is a really nice piece. Because it's dual molded, all the lines are nice and crisp. The printing on top of that is really good. It's a quality element. I just don't think that the design work is, you know, up to scratch really. I've got one of the previous versions here. Actually, the torso and leg printing are identical. This is using the original mold, which stayed the same all the way from 99 all the way up to whenever this one was introduced. And as you can see, I just think it looks better. I think there's an argument to be made that it's less accurate. There's actually more than one type of Stormtrooper helmet used in the films in the first place, so there are some differences. But I still think that that one is more accurate. It's better in proportion. You can actually turn it, you know, not all the way. You know, it does pop up a little bit when you turn it. But this one, I mean, you know, you've got to put it up there before it'll even go round, and that just looks bizarre. So, yeah. Jury's still out, unfortunately. Just again being clear, this one is the one that comes with the set. This one is a previous one from my collection. I don't know if I'll be going out of my way to get any more of the newer version, although if you can pick up some of the old versions of the helmets, then you can just swap them out and there won't be any difference. Right, enough worrying about the figures, let's have a look at the build. So as I said before, several weeks ago, I have never had a regular TIE fighter before. This is my first experience. I did really want to get the solo TIE fighter, which is quite similar to this, but with much bigger wings. But that was a little bit out of my price range. I couldn't quite justify it. And I think that's a reason why a lot of people are going to go for this set. Actually, I had a really fun time building it. Obviously, the wings are repetitive. You've just got to build exactly the same thing twice, but that's going to be the same on any TIE fighter. In fact, it's going to be the same on a lot of Star Wars ships, or even something like my AT-80 that I've got there. You know, building those legs 4 times over is not fun, but that's just a bit of the design that has to be translated. So yeah, it was a fun build. It goes together very easily. There are some nice construction techniques used, nothing too crazy. Got plenty of space inside there for the TIE fighter pilot. Just show you him inside. He can hold on to his weapon, which is good because there isn't an extra place for him to store that while he's in there. Just check that helmet is on correctly. Yep, there we go. Close the front up, close the top hatch in some order or another, and he's inside. I don't know if you can see him. You can definitely see me. It's a nice print for that dish at the front, very similar again to ones that have been used previously. It does come with spring-loaded shooters, which I've left intact for now, but I've left the bolts out. You know, I, like a lot of other adult collectors, are not the biggest fan of spring-loaded shooters, especially for display, because they might just go off randomly and shoot somebody walking through the room. But anyway, the shaping of the central ball is quite nice. Round shapes in LEGO are not the most compatible things ever. There are some mocks which do a better job of fixing the round shape. The one available from Brick Vault, designed by Jarek, is obviously very nice, but I don't think it would meet up to the LEGO group's standards, so I understand why they don't do it. As I showed you, you can open the front quite simply, and then the top as well. There's a nice printed dish piece on the top. I think, as M&R Productions pointed out, you can rotate it, which is unfortunate, but I can't think of a better way to actually fix this dish on. I'm just glad it was printed, although I hope they wouldn't stoop to putting stickers on dishes. At the back, we've got a fairly decent design. We've got the titular twin ion engines there. You can see the backs of the spring-loaded shooters as well. And then we've got this on the back here, which represents the viewport out of the back, which again is decent. Overall, I would say it's very decent. The wings are actually surprisingly good. They do use a lot of pieces to make them, which is nice. I know the Juniors TIE Fighter used just a single large piece for each wing with some details on top, which I'm thankful they didn't try and use here. Has used these new attachment points, which make it fairly easy to pop the wings off, just like that. This is all one piece with 4 Technic pins in there, and then studs on the other side. Makes them easy to pop off, but they're not going to come off if you just wiggle the thing about. In fact, they're rock solid. The only thing you can hear shaking is the springs inside the shooters. One little downside here, though, which I don't understand why they didn't do it, and I'm definitely not the first person, is here. These ball joints on the outside. So these are the Mixel-style ball joints that have been around for quite some time now, and for reasons which kind of make sense, they are colour locked. So these ball pieces, these 1x2 modified plates with the ball on them, they are colour locked to dark bluish grey. Something to do with the tolerances in the ball joints. It's a whole thing. Don't worry about it. But what I don't understand is why they've included these bits here, but then on the bottom and the top, we've actually got clips, because they occupy the same space. There's no need for these pieces to go side to side. In fact, it's bad if they go side to side. They're meant to stay straight up and down. So I don't understand why they didn't just use bars and clips like they did up here. And they would have allowed them to make the entire thing light bluish grey. So once I've finished my review, which will only take a second, I have ordered the parts to swap that all over, and I'm going to do that, and it's just a minor change. If you're looking for more elaborate mods, they are out there. People have created some crazy good mods for this, including modifying it into other types of TIE fighters, which is really cool. TIE Interceptor seems to be the favourite, and there are some good instructions out there. I'm not going to do that straight away, just because I like having it as a regular TIE fighter, but I am going to swap those colours out. One final thing I thought would be interesting before doing those modifications was to compare this set to the previous TIE Fighter that I own, which is the TIE Advanced, which is from a dual set which had an A-Wing in it. It was actually a Rebels set, and it's the most recent TIE Advanced that LEGO have made at this sort of scale. I managed to get this set just by itself, and it's really nice, actually. I really appreciate it. It's a bit dusty. I promise you I do like it. It's been on display for a bit. And just to compare the two, the techniques, very briefly, Obviously you can see lots of similarities, but then obviously differences as well, because it's not meant to be exactly the same ship. Similarities with that printing on top, though it actually uses another one of these larger windscreen pieces, and there's actually a connection across the top here, which you can remove quite easily, and then inside you can seat one figure, which of course should be Darth Vader. So yeah, it's interesting to see the two. They don't look that out of scale, to be honest. Obviously the ball piece here is too big in relation to the wings of this one, but putting the two together, you know, put this one here, picture another one on the other side, chasing Luke down the trench, I don't think they look too bad at all. Time to make those modifications now. Here are the pieces I'm going to need. They're very, very simple, in fact. I've just clipped them together, ready to go. So it's literally just one of these parts with a bar and one with a clip. Put them together, whichever way up you like, and just replace one of these. Now, can I get these off? I'm going to have to use a very rare orange piece separator. Just pulls that off. That comes off very easily. They are connected at the other end, so you're not going to destroy anything while you're doing it. Ooh, which way up should I put it? I'm going to go for this way up, just because I like it. Clip them together. Yeah, there we go. Simple as. I don't think it's any weaker than that joint before. They're not going to go side to side. And yeah, I don't see why they didn't do it. I mean, you know, in terms of dimensions, obviously this can move side to side, but if you just bend it like this, apart from adding a bit of friction possibly, it's no different from the clips. So I don't understand why they didn't do it like that. Luckily, it's a fairly cheap and easy fix, although I think it's a shame that they didn't do it in the first place, because it's a little bit of a blemish on what otherwise is actually a really good model. That's all 4 joints replaced there. You can just see, I think overall that looks so much nicer. Apart from the changing colour, it also means that there are consistent normal studs rather than hollow studs. I'm not one of those people who believes in eliminating studs altogether, otherwise I wouldn't have been putting up with these wings on the outside. But I think consistency is nice. So yeah, I think that looks really good. And it's given me, you know, 4 of these ball joint pieces, well 8 technically, but you know what I mean, 4 separate joints that I can use for future mocks and mods, which is really good. Right, there we go. That was set 75300 Imperial TIE Fighter. Overall, I think it's a really good set. I think it follows in the footsteps of the X-Wing as being a great minimalisation of a set. It's not managed to keep the same sort of size as the X-Wing, which is a little bit of a shame, but I think the price point, I think that just sells it, you know, quite literally, that sells it for me. Being that much cheaper than the previous version or than a mock out there, while also still being able to fit a minifigure and shoot some spring-loaded shooters, which to be honest is all the previous version and versions before it could really ever do. So yeah, if you want to get a TIE Fighter and you're not super fussed about it being hyper accurate, I would go for one of these. Others are available. Obviously mocks are going to be more accurate but probably less robust, and if you really want one that's 100% accurate, you can always buy just a, you know, a put together plastic kit with glue that's not Lego. So there are lots of options out there. If you just want something that's a bit of fun, looks decent on display, and also you can play with, then I would go for this one. So there we go, that was my review at long last for me of this set. Thank you very much for watching. If you've enjoyed, then please leave a like down below or comment and I'll do my best to get back to you. Subscribe to the channel for more videos and I will see you very soon. Bye.